On the eve of what could be a history-defining meeting in Russia's war with Ukraine, namely the Istanbul meeting, a lot yet remains unsaid. Is Vladimir Putin going to show up? Is Volodymyr Zelenskyy going to speak to Putin and Putin alone? On top of all of that, the 17th package of EU sanctions for Russia was announced as NATO foreign ministers meet in Antalya discussing defense spending. What are the chances of the talks being successful? Joining me now is my guest, Diane Francis, Senior Fellow at the Atlantic Council. Good evening. Thank you for joining me on the program.
Glad to be here.
So hopefully the meeting between Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelenskyy is supposed to take place tomorrow on Thursday. We don't know if Donald Trump will be coming. We're getting a lot of messages. What happens next, and what are your predictions when it comes to that meeting?
Well, this has been an ornate game of chess. Will he, won't he, will he do this, won't he do this? Putin is playing a game. He's just, annoying everybody. And this is all done on purpose. His whole modus operandi is to, wait out until the West gets fed up with the war. But the West is fed up with the war. And so that's why the pressure from Trump and others and Europe is very important. And the fact that Zelenskyy is willing to go to Turkey and wait for Putin. If Putin doesn't show up, I think that's a very big black eye for Russia, and it also will very much enrage the United States and Europe, and should.
So if Zelenskyy shows up but Putin doesn't, do you think that this will work in a way in Ukraine's advantage? I mean, is for example, Donald Trump going to change his perspective when it comes to the balance between the two?
Well, it will demonstrate that only one side wants to end the war. Putin has maintained that, he's a victim, that he didn't start the war, that he doesn't like the war. But he has done nothing to try and terminate through ceasefires or talks in any way, shape, or form. He keeps throwing up obstacles and barriers. So this is his game. And I think he's now going to confront a West that has run out of patience. And hopefully it'll be Trump and Europe as well. And there is a number of accelerating decisions they could make, such as flooding Ukraine with more weaponry, stronger weaponry, and really doubling down on sanctions even more.
What do you think would be the weight of this meeting if Vladimir Putin would not show up? Would it be in any way, shape, or form less important than it was initially supposed to be?
Well, I don't know. If he doesn't show up, then the whole peace effort that Trump has embarked on since he took office in January is for naught. It will reveal that Putin never had any sincere interest in ending the fighting and the shooting, which is Trump's goal. And so I think the ball then will be in Trump's court as well as Europe's court as to decide what to do. Now, weaponry is one thing, sanctions is another. And, Trump is just finishing off a tour in the Middle East, and it looks like he's got the agreement also as a pressure point to have the Arab oil producers, OPEC, flood more oil, almost 500,000 barrels a day, which will cut the income dramatically of Russia, which is completely based on oil exports. That's how he's financing his war. The second thing is that Europe has just concluded that it will not only increase sanctions, but it is going to go after the phantom oil ships that deliver the oil, and also consider putting sanctions on anybody who buys Russian oil, such as India and China.
So let's take a look at the 17th package. We've heard that it is going to hit those are going to be secondary sanctions. We also heard that this is the most severe package yet. I also spoke to Stephen Moore yesterday, and he said it's not really about what the sanctions are about, it's about imposing them. Do you think that this package of sanctions has a possibility, an opportunity to actually make a difference?
Well, it depends on how much and where and by whom. Secondary sanctions, there have been some, certainly on banking and other things. But I think that really what has to be happened is not only does these phantom ships have to disappear altogether, they have to be, rounded up, rounded up, and towed back into port and stop the transmission of oil, which will cut off Putin's income. The price has to drop. OPEC should be encouraged to flood the market. And I think that the two big accessories to the war, China and India, indirect accessories, there should be a tariff placed on every barrel of oil they buy from Russia, and those funds should go toward Ukraine to help defend itself in increasing the warfare against Russia.
So this tour by Donald Trump of some of the bigger Middle Eastern countries and those contracts that he's signing, the one that you mentioned previously only a few minutes ago, do you think that signing of these contracts is actually going to cause some panic when it comes to Russia, or are they going to try and reevaluate their strategy?
Contracts about what? I think they've talked about increasing their production of oil. Is that what you mean, the contracts? Because he signed a lot of business deals with them too. Contract.
It's about the oil, the one that you mentioned before.
Yeah, no, sure, it's going to make a big difference. I mean, they don't produce. My guess is that they may produce 10% of the world's oil, but most importantly, they represent half of the export of oil. And it's the export of oil that determines its price, export price. And that is what has financed the war in Russia. So anything they can do to contribute to lowering the export price, and that will help squeeze Putin's economy even more. And then going after the oil tankers and going after the oil buyers is absolutely essential. On top of that, however, we have a shooting war, and I think that Ukraine should have access to more weaponry.
Our time is coming to an end, unfortunately, but let's look at this meeting that is taking place in Antalya very shortly. NATO foreign ministers meeting, talking about defense spending. There's been signals about 5% coming from Donald Trump of upping the defense spending. How likely the NATO countries are actually to adjust to this new ceiling when it comes to defense spending? Well,
they've been freeloading off the U.S. for many, many decades. Let's face it. So has Canada. They've got to ratchet up their spending. They're trying to do it. It's not easy. And just spending is not enough. You have to put together military armed forces with lines of command, with facilities, with equipment, with training. All kinds of things have to happen. So, yes, they're moving in that direction, and they have to, because the Americans are not going to support NATO much longer to the extent that they have. And that's very, very critical.
Thank you so much. Diane Francis, Senior Fellow at the Atlantic Council, was my guest. It was great to have you on the show as always. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so this would be all for now here on World News Tonight, but please do stay tuned. We're back in just a moment with more news and features, and we'll see you there. But just before you go, remember to stay with us here on TVP World, because an interview with Ivan Karstev, political scientist, the chairman of the Center for Liberal Strategies in Sofia, will be aired at 9:17 p.m. CET. See you there.